Greetings, dear colleagues. I'm Anton Gerasimov. Today we have fantastic possibility to speak with worldwide known professor, Dr. Istvan Urban. We are at Urban Regeneration Institute. Good day, Istvan.
Thank you, Anton, for coming. Welcome.
Thank you. You are one of the leaders in the implant dentistry, reconstructive implant dentistry. What made you decide to choose implantology?
Well, my father was a physician and he was always busy in the hospital. So my mom decided that the way I can see more of my father, we're going to visit the hospital. And so we went there a lot and I really enjoyed the atmosphere. And over there I met two young, energetic oral surgeons, very friendly. And I told my father, look, I want to be like them, so I'm going to be an oral surgeon. So surgery was my track. I went to dental school, I went to medical school, and I was actually, these two oral surgeons, one of them was still working in the hospital when I graduated, so he took me as a resident. And so I got into surgery, and I did a lot of surgeries, all kinds, except implants. And implant was already there, but I didn't feel that I want to start yet. But then slowly I went towards implants, and I wanted to connect my surgical knowledge with implant dentistry.
That's good. Please tell us about your landmarks in your learning process. Do you remember your first implant, first graft?
I remember everything. Well, I would say my landmarks. I would start dental school. So number one, I had a very inspiring anatomy teacher. And he allowed me to do some extra work. So I did a lot of preparations on cadavers, and I actually had one head that I prepared for a full year. So I prepared everything. Then I looked at all the anatomical books. I compared this anatomical book to that. So I really went into anatomy. And then, so that was the first landmark. Then in the summer, I went to the hospital for a 1 month of summer program. I had to do extractions, I started to do little surgeries, and I think that's also a landmark because I like anatomy, started to like surgery, and then the first day of my work, I was almost alone in the afternoon, and I had a patient who I extracted a tooth, and there was an opening with a sinus, and I had to close it, and I closed it alone.
Alone?
I closed it alone, then I made phone calls, okay, come in to check. They go in, they check, I said, okay, it's okay, we did it well, but I was sweating. And right now it would take 5 minutes, but still.
Yeah.
So that was, and of course I remember my first implant. I was waiting, I did 4 years of oral surgery. I looked at the implants, I didn't want to place a single implant. I said, this can wait.
Yeah.
And then when I went to the program, and eventually at Loma Linda, I started to place the implants. And I did the first graft there too, which is very interesting because in the first week, I told the program director that I would like to do vertical ridge augmentation. And he was, we were eating, and he was just wanted to take a bite. But he stops and he's like, on a human. So that was funny, and of course I got in a couple of months I got a patient.
Yeah. So you are licensed in California. Many doctors dream of it, but you have a practice in Budapest. Is it more profitable?
So basically, I always had my kind of master plan was that we will come back to Budapest after the programs, and but I didn't want to come back because I don't have a license. Very few doctors took the license. They were there, but everybody goes home, and then nobody had a license almost. And I wanted to take the license, and I did the license. I'm very happy for that. I'm really proud for my California license because it was hard work. But I never took it because I wanted to work there. And in terms of profitable, I would say, when I got my license, it was in 2000. Yeah. I go to work, I get a good salary, I open a practice. So I'm sure it would have been very profitable, but I never looked at that.
Professor, to be honest, how are your efforts esteemed by the government? Any real help or investments?
From the government?
From the government. You chose Hungary, not California. Mm-hmm. It should be esteemed.
Yeah, so basically, I think the government doesn't know that I exist. Nor they support me.
From today they will know.
Yeah, maybe. So they don't know. And basically everything is my and my family and my wife's work, what we have.
Yeah.
Which is good because we're completely independent. We don't depend on nothing. Politics, nothing. It's just
good.
us.
That's good. What is it to be a simple good dentist in Hungary comparing to USA?
Well, that changed a lot. When I first went to the United States, I spent a year when I was in 1991, and I would say a lot of good doctors in the US, but I looked up to them even more, and since then I think European dentistry and Hungarian dentistry became more international, became much better quality here than how it was before. So I would say, of course, a good dentist in the United States is a very high level, and they have a lot of risks and a lot of risk taking. The patients can be very difficult.
And
here, I would say it's coming to that. But it improved a lot here in terms of the quality. So a lot of very good dentists in Hungary now.
One dentist from USA told one day that you cannot be in one room with your patient if she is woman, because she can tell that it was sexual harassment. And after several years, he told that now you cannot stay even with a man in the room. So what about in Hungary?
Yeah, I never thought of that. But
But
I always have an assistant, so it's okay.
Like in Russia. In Russia, we have a joke that average body temperature in hospital is 36.6 degrees, including morgue and period and surgery department. What about average Hungarian middle-aged mouth? Are there missing teeth? What about occlusion and bone defects?
I think it's also improved a lot. Number one, smoking is down. Oral hygiene is up. So that takes care of a lot of periodontal disease. When I came home, there was buckets all over the place. And everybody was smoking, and now it's much less. They go to the hygienist more. But of course, there are still missing teeth. Still, a lot of fillings done, a lot of implants to be done. But in the average, especially here where we live, in Budapest, much better than 20 years ago, and much better than you would think.
Do you prefer complex treatment? How expensive is double sinus graft and 6 to 8 implants and 14 crowns in Budapest?
Okay, well, I like complex treatment, obviously. I like patients, not even complex, I would say I like patients who have a demand, who have a problem that I can help and I can change their life. So I like a patient who is a young patient and unfortunately had an accident and lost maybe the anterior teeth and lost the bone, and I know that I can do this and I know I can help a lot. In terms of the cost of the treatments, is really a huge range here. I mean, one part is the low cost, where they're focusing on dental tourism. We don't do that, and I have no idea of the prices. But I would say, it should be close, but still not like maybe more Western prices.
Yeah.
What I recommend to a doctor is don't look at the price of the biomaterial, look at what you want to use, and then look at the price once you decide what you want to use, how much that costed, and that's how you set your prices. Otherwise, you're going to go lower, 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 and you're going to buy cheaper, cheaper, and cheaper, and you have problems, and problems.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Thank you. Why did you done it to us? A doctor, a dentist couldn't eat a sausage now and do not send a prayer for you. Thanks heavens they do not send prayers during pushing the bras and finger tests.
Yeah, so what is the question?
The question is, what is the day of birth of sausage technique?
Oh, okay.
And what is the difference? what is the real difference? Because sometimes we hear envious comments that I've did it for decades before Istvan Urban.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Well, the birth of this sausage technique was very interesting. So number one, if you don't know what a sausage technique is, we make it, it's a funny name, not a medical term of a bone graft. It's a technical term of bone graft. The technical term is that we have a membrane that is a stretchable, elastic membrane, and that was not useful for doing ridge augmentations. It was more useful to do very small defects. But we recognize if you stretch it out and you really push the bone graft underneath, and then
push the bra.
Exactly. So, and then you're gonna, put your fingers around it.
Finger test.
We call it the finger test, and it's really, it's really, stable. Then it looks like a sausage, and then you're gonna have a ridge augmentation. So the birth was that I had a patient who had, I did a big bone graft. I used a titanium reinforced membrane. That was the old generation Gore-Tex membrane, PTFE. And that patient developed 3 little fistula tracts. So didn't have any major complications, but there was small complications. So I decided after 3 weeks, I go back and I remove the membrane. I carefully removed the membrane, and I saw the bone graft, that 95% of the bone graft was perfect. We scraped a little bit of the area which caused the problem. Used the collagen membrane, and so number one, this bone graft after 3 weeks was standing on the ridge. It was very stable, and I could not move it with my fingers or anything. So number one, at 3 weeks it's stable. Number two, we removed that membrane, but we thought that this is the only membrane that can function. And then, so we removed it and put the collagen membrane, and lucky enough, we got a lot of bone. So then I recognized that, look, the initial graft stability, even with the collagen membrane, should provide a lot of bone. And so this case was the mother of the sausage technique. Then when I started to do it, I would really doubt that many people would have done it before, because when I had my first cases, I showed it to the best of the world. Okay? And they were like, wow, this is not possible. We can't believe this. Right. How is that? And I show it again. No. You did something else here. So, but many people did like titanium pins and the collagen membranes. But that's why we call it the sausage. That's a membrane and pin technique.
What's the difference?
The membrane and pin, when you have membranes, like put pins all over the place, but you don't stabilize the bone graft the way we do it. And then the bone graft's collapsing, bone graft's thinning out, and then you get a very unpredictable result.
Absolutely.
And there's a few little steps, and the material, and the way they stretch it, that makes a difference. It's simple, but the simplicity is the sophistication.
Yes, simplicity is the sophistication, it's your proverb, and nowadays there is a trend to do everything simpler and simpler, and there is a trend to avoid bone grafting. There is a trend to use a gingiva graft instead of bone graft, and use short implants, narrow implants, or very long implants. What's your opinion on this question?
Well, I think, it's always better to be less invasive. Question is, okay, so number one, there's one trend that's very funny, that leave the implant without any facial bone. It's okay, just put the gingiva graft there. And because you have the palate and you have the interdental bone, bone is going to hold the implant. Let's say you're going to do 500 of those. You may quit because you may have so many problems in 5 years that you have no idea. And nobody wants an implant without bone. So I would say that's a joke. The second one, very short implants, that's fine. I mean, use short implants. Maybe put another one.
What is short?
And splint them. What is short?
How long?
Well, one implant, one company is doing a 4 millimeter implant. I would say, to me, that's a little bit too short. But I know it's not about the length. If you have enough width and you have some millimeters above the nerve, I mean, you put 1, 2, then you would put 2 implants, maybe increase it with 1. So put in 3 implants and splint them. Probably
increase the quantity.
Increase the quantity of the implant. very long implants, you're probably thinking about the zygoma. The zygoma implant is not without any complications.
Yeah.
Okay, so think about it: when to use it, to who to use it. Yes, you can load it. Yes, you can. You don't have to do a bone graft, but you need to be very skilled to do that. You will have a very long, like soft tissue attachment in the mucosa, and those implants are not without any complications. I've seen. Last time they brought me a patient who had a periimplantitis in the zygoma, missing like a big bone defect in the zygoma. So everything will have, advantages and disadvantages.
Right, right.
Have you done some sausages?
Sure. Yes, I know now. If you see my sausages, you tell that's not sausage because
you know the steps.
Yes, because for sure I did maybe mistakes, but I know that your technique is working, and I know that it is very effective.
So how was your results? It was good?
Yes, it was. I get very good results, and I believe in your technique, and so that was the idea to talk with you, because I believe in you, I believe in your technique, and I am very grateful that you sharing your knowledge and sharing techniques in books. In conferences, in hands-on courses, in lectures. So it's very good when doctors have strength of will for teaching, for my opinion. There is a dozen of approaches to get autogenic bone. Scrapers, mills, drills. You prefer scraper, but which methods are approved by Urban?
I would say...
Besides scraper.
I wouldn't say that I would approve, because I would approve something that has been investigated in the literature. There's a very interesting study on that. So for the big bone graft, I will still take some little mini, like usually with the trephine mini blocks, and put it to the bone meal. So that's for a big bone graft, that's my choice. For a smaller bone graft, I do the scrapers. But there is like other type of solutions, such as the that you have like a drill and you mill the bone, and things like that. You have the piezo scraper. And there's one article who looked at that, and they looked at the bone activity, growth factor activity, and they found that the most active is the milled bone and scraped bone. And that's the two that I use. And I wouldn't say I approve it, but that's what I would. That's what I teach.
Yeah.
And the bone slurry, when you use a drill, you collect bone.
Right.
For some reason, the bone growth factor activity is much lower of those.
Much lower. Exactly. Have you been to Hollywood? Hollywood, yeah.
Yeah, many times.
Why other movies are always about bank robbery? BIOS is 5 times more expensive than gold. They should create a movie about robbery of Geistlich one day.
Yeah. Well, it's more difficult to sell.
Right.
What do we sell it for?
Right.
But of course, the BIOS is more difficult more expensive than gold.
Yes. And it is more predictable during surgery than gold.
It's much more predictable, but gold is much easier to dig than to produce BIOS. Or like a good bone graft.
So let's talk about xenografts now. A lot of them now, and a lot of advertisement as well. Does it really matter anything for success of surgery, or just buy the cheapest?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So number one, there's 2 ways to think about this. Number one, you're always safer if you use something that has been proven in science.
Right.
And then, because the next one is basically top secret how they produce one. Because you have like usually an animal, because a xenograft is an animal, you have to make sure that you're keeping it natural and without any contaminants. And it's not so easy to do. So nobody has the secret how they did the original one, which was the BIOS. There are other ones on the market. And some of them I know, and no names, it's just they have trouble to do that, so they increase the temperature. Once they increase the temperature, then the holes disappear, and the whole thing is whole thing melts. And I don't know how much cheaper it is, but when you're going to go back and you just dig out half of the bone graft, and it's not good. So I would say it does matter which one you're going to use.
How do you think you talk about contamination of material? Does it really matter if 1 or 2 or maybe 100 of bacteria will be in material? Does it really matter?
I think it does. I think that's what I don't want to have, bacteria in my material.
But you cannot do surgery in mouth in absolute sterile.
Okay, but what you can do is this. You have the bad bacteria, pair it onto pockets.
Yeah.
And a lot of plaque in the mouth.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have that, you're going to have a lot of infections. Of course, you're not going to have a bacteria-free mouth.
Yeah.
But if I don't have pockets, if I clean the tongue,
right,
if I clean all the plaque off, your rate of infection is going to be much lower.
Right, exactly. But these bacteria are from mouth you talk about. You didn't talk about bacteria from material. I have read recently. I've read in the internet that one Russian doctor has had 4 consequential complications during bone graft surgery, and he blames BIOS for it.
Oh,
it's nonsense for me. What's your opinion?
No, there's no way. I mean, it's sterile. There's no bacteria on it.
I never heard of that.
Yeah,
it could be. It could be a
I think it's
reason.
Yeah, no, that's not the reason.
Okay.
It can be multifactorial. It can be bad luck, something with the hygiene of the office, something with the instruments, but very likely, none of these. Very likely, all these patients had, maybe they did a lower right surgery, but didn't look well enough, and the upper left, there was maybe a 6, 7, 8 millimeter bucket.
Yeah.
And Mombelli showed that very well.
Yeah.
That can spread to the bone graft during the surgery.
Yeah, that's right.
So things like this, that's the most.
What is your recipe for mixing autograft with xenograft? How much auto, how much xeno? Does it matter?
I think it does. It's a very interesting question, and everything goes towards less autogenous.
Yeah.
And research is also looking at less autogenous. But when you look at the real ridge augmentation, I think, and what I see, you still should have half autogenous and half xenograft. You see, it's a different ridge.
And let me offer you to produce Urban digital surgical scales for precise mixing 50 to 50. There is no scales on the market, so
no.
I
mix the left eye and the right eye. That's how I judge.
That's how I judge. Okay. In 2012, in your PhD thesis, you published inspiring conclusions about PMC and PGA and TMC membranes.
Yes.
What's the status of topic now?
Okay. So actually, those were synthetic membranes.
Yeah. Right.
I started to do the sausage with them. It was not very good for the sausage. So what I'm using now, the collagen membrane, is better. But those were only synthetic membranes that did not give any foreign body reaction and inflammatory reaction to the tissues. They were kind of like not microperforated, but they were communicative with the periosteum.
Yeah.
So excluded the soft tissue cells, but allowed the blood vessels to go through. And a very, very good material, and Gore-Tex were producing it. But Gore-Tex, actually they still have this material. They said, well, the dental market is not so interesting for them. So they stopped making it, and now I think they're still using it in medicine. So the polyglycolide, that was in polyglycolide. The polyglycolide is not so acidic. The polylactide, if you have a polylactide membrane, expect a different result, because the polylactide, when it goes to the Krebs cycle,
right?
And I studied all these, if it goes to the Krebs cycle, it becomes lactic acid. And it goes through, and that's very acidic, and that it gives more problems.
Why are you still cautious in your book and lectures, presentations about sausage technique and vertical aspect, vertical augmentation?
Okay. Well, I would say because the sausage technique, the membrane we're using is a non-form stable membrane. And to do vertical ridge augmentation with a non-form stable membrane, you can do a little bit, but it's more for widening the bone. And if I would say, if we would start telling people, okay, you can do anything with this, that would be a lot of disappointments. And I have patients with very big defects. And for those patients, I know I couldn't do it. So the sausage is more widening, a little bit of vertical, you can do a little bit of matching things, blending things in. But the thing is that for vertical direction, when you have a big defect, and I have a lot of big defects, and you want to do high like this, for that is not predictable. It's very good to do this.
But you can do this.
I would not do this. I can do a little bit of blend in, a little bit of, for example, the secondary bone graft, that we do a protecting layer of bone graft. After a vertical ridge augmentation in the anterior maxilla, we do a little bit of vertical with it, like 2 millimeters, maybe 3 millimeters, but we're never going to go and do a 10 millimeter one because it might not be as stable as what we wish.
Yeah.
But it's a very good point because I think there is more potential in it.
More potential.
Yeah. More potential.
Sometimes your students show cases
with vertical. Yeah, I'm happy. Please, good. I like that.
Okay. And
if they're better than me, it's perfect.
You told that you prefer small granules of material, not big granules, and I know many doctors who prefer big granules because it's more economical.
Exactly.
Big granules.
Exactly. So I think the big granules were done to be cheaper.
Cheaper, right?
Yeah, because they're selling it by the weight, but the volume is more.
Yeah.
So, but for the ridge augmentation, the bone, it doesn't look as good as with the small granules.
And for sinus graft?
For the sinus graft, it's very interesting. I use the small granule.
Yeah.
In Loma Linda, they use the large granule.
Yeah.
Very good success rate.
Yeah.
And so that's like anecdotal. But there is one article, they looked at the histology, after each,
right.
and it makes no difference.
No difference.
I still prefer the small granules.
I am agree with you completely. I prefer small granules.
But for the ridge, I recommend to do small granules.
And what about sutures? You prefer sutures 3.0, not 6.0, but everybody fashionable 6.0 sutures.
Yeah, I use a 6. I use 7.0 too. 6. I use 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But the question is when. So number one, very interesting story. The Gore-Tex was the old white PTFE suture that we used for the ridge augmentation. And they called it the CV5. So I looked at it, everybody said, well, it's a 5.0. Then they had the CV7 for the vertical incisions. So everybody said, it's 7.0. It looked like a thinner, so then we thought 6.0. Actually, I've seen a lecture at the AAP in the US. And one doctor showed a main podium, like a surgery with CV7.
Yeah.
And it was like a mini graft around, like gutted tissue regeneration, and an implant, a papilla suture, very nicely done. And he says, well, I'm suturing now with an 8.0.
Yeah.
It was a CV7, so anyway, then it was remeasured. The CV5 is a 3.0. The CV7 is a 4.0.
Yeah.
Okay? But the thing is with the PTFE have some air.
Right.
So when you tighten it, the 3.0 becomes a 4.50.
Yeah.
That's number one. So that's not a real 3.0. I'm not using a 3.0 silk suture. This is a flexible 3.0 that becomes a 4.0 or even less. But the strength, when you want to take it and it takes like 15 newtons. And when you take a 6.0, it takes maybe 3.4. So when you have a ridge augmentation and you have the holding sutures, you put these holding sutures in, and the patient swells, there will be more tension or something. These sutures resist a lot. Or if you have a 6.0, it can pop. So I use the 6.0. All my vertical incision suture the 6.0 or 7.0. Papilla, sometimes even on the ridge I do a few of them. I use a lot of 502. After normal implant procedures, I use 5.0 or 6.0. But the 3.0 for the horizontal mattresses to hold makes a lot of sense.
Istvan, do you always extract in pins?
Or leave some of them in?
Or leave some?
Well, I used to take all the pins out. Now we have the new master pin actually is titanium alloy. Many of the pins are stainless steel.
Yeah.
The doctors don't know it because it's very difficult to produce a good titanium pin. And it's a titanium alloy, so you can leave it in. It's 1 millimeter in diameter. I used to take all of them out. Today, not really. I mean, it's like I have some of them up there. They're embedded. I know because I went back so many times to remove some of them. You don't need to take them out.
So you leave hunting accident.
I leave some of them out. Yeah, I leave hunting. Yeah.
So, can you tell the status of guided bone regeneration for today, and how do you see the future of guided bone regeneration?
Well, guided bone regeneration today actually is very interesting because I had a big presentation in 2004 in the EAO, and I was very happy that I was invited there. My presentation was very successful, but people told me it was great, it was a big success, but you have to change, because it's finished. Guided bone regeneration, membranes are over, and you don't need regeneration anymore. Everything is going to be flapless and thin and short. And I said, okay. But I still think that I have the patience for that. And so 15 years ago, I thought regeneration is finished. Now regeneration is really back. Guided bone regeneration was originally, the membrane exclude the soft tissue.
Right.
That's it. Then we have recognized that, it's good, but it's better to communicate with the outside tissue cells, with the periostocytes, periosteum, like cells in the periosteum, mesenchymal cells, maybe allow some blood vessels to come through. And actually Gore was a very smart company because the EPTFE didn't work because it was stretched out and the bacteria were adhered to it. But it was also smart because it could allow a little bit of communication with the liquids. And not only with the liquids, but also the periosteum and blood vessels and all that. The newer membranes, the new collagen membranes the native collagen membranes are very, very well communicating. But I think still in the future, guided bone regeneration is not only going to be like exclude, it's going to be immobilize the bone graft and have a smart communication. We had a stupid phone, we loved it, right? The old Nokias.
Yeah.
Now we have another phone that knows a lot of things. We're gonna have a membrane because our membranes are already much more communicative. So we need smart membranes.
That membranes will send you SMS when you have complication, right?
Well, it sends me SMS when a blood vessel goes through. And it sends me SMS, how is this pumped? How is the bone formation? Yeah, so I would say by far it's not finished. I'm doing now research on guided bone regeneration in the interface of the periosteum and the cortical layer of the newly formed bone. Yeah. How can we make that faster?
Yeah.
And how can we make that better?
Yeah. And are there any challenging cases for you? I'm sure there are no.
There's a lot of challenging cases, and that's what I like. I started to treat patients that were not an indication for guided bone regeneration. So think about this. Early 90s, end of 80s, it was a dehiscence or a fenestration for a simple implant. Then Professor Simeon, Boozer, and their co-workers, they went to horizontal augmentation, vertical augmentation, and a bit larger, like also longer span. Now today we do edentulous, it was a challenge 10 years ago, but today I would say edentulous is easy. Today the challenge is these cleft patients, for example. Cleft patients and guided bone regeneration was never practiced. So I have cleft patients. I have patients who had extreme ridge atrophies, like patients who are really down in the nerve. There's nothing in here. I love it. I would say, is it a challenge? It's a challenge. I love it. And I have recently treated patients who, like, say, had a big trauma 20 years ago, and since then, they couldn't treat the patient. Maxilla is in two-piece. There's a communication with the sinus. I love it. I have a recent patient, which is maybe the most challenging, an ameloblastoma. Okay, they removed ameloblastoma, young patient, missing half of the bone here. There is
maxilla ameloblastoma.
Yeah.
It's a very rare case.
And there is no nasal border. There's no bone here. The palate is like a centimeter behind, so there's only soft tissue here.
Was it resected or?
Yeah, it was cut out.
It was cut out 1 centimeter from the border.
No, it's exactly. It's like 2 by 3, 2 centimeters long, 3 centimeters, mesiodistally. No palate, no nose. What can you do?
Hip graft?
No, I did guide bone regeneration. I'm building it up, and I think you're gonna love it.
Very, very interesting. And can you tell how often you get complications? You do in such challenging cases, maybe every year or every 10 years you got one complication?
I got it more often. So when I look at the complications, number one, why do you get a complication? Why do I get a complication? Patient selection.
Right.
And I would say it's not, but you have to be a little bit careful. And I know in Russia they smoke a lot. So a very heavy smoker might be more prone to get a complication. Untreated periodontal disease. Like you cannot do surgery on untreated periodontal disease patients. So that's number one, how you select, and then how you prepare your patient. So periodontal disease you have to treat.
You will tell patient you will not do surgery if he had periodontal disease.
That's fine. If you have periodontal disease, fine. Let's treat it first and then.
And it cannot be treated. Not every periodontal disease can be treated.
Well, you mean
with saving teeth?
Yeah. Then
patient do not like to extract teeth. If he worried about losing his last teeth,
that's fine. We're gonna go and maintain as much as we can. But if we think that the patient doesn't allow us to do the right thing, and this is not controlled, then I'm not going to do a bone graft.
You will reject.
Then I will reject. And then, so patient preparations, patient selection, patient preparation for surgery.
That's one.
Surgical technique is not a problem. Okay, postoperative care is also important. When you put the provisional, what kind of provisional, how you put in the provisional. And then, how often do I get it? So I get about 3%. In terms of membrane exposure, we don't have. But we have postoperative infections. Sometimes a low grade, that's easy to manage. High grade is very difficult to manage.
What's the reason for infection?
So
you don't know? Or?
I almost always know. One, patient selection. Patient is lying to you about smoking. By the third day the patient is calling, the wife is calling, is that okay? He's sitting drunk in the jacuzzi smoking a cigar. Then you think that maybe it's, it was not the best patient for this. And then the other thing is, patient selection. And you have to be honest to yourself. I have a complication. I look at it, okay, why did I get this complication? I look at this. Did this patient was clean enough? Did I change the crowns in here? Because maybe this margin was not perfect.
Margin of crowns. Always, we can miss it. We can miss
you should not. You should not. So these type of things. And so, I'm not saying that I get like every year a complication, but when I get it, I have to be honest that I see that, okay, I sometimes I can blame myself too. A little bit, of course. I would say, not blame myself, but I would say, okay, if we do this again, we're going to do this and this and this before. But sometimes you get a complication, you don't even feel bad because you did it.
All you can.
And it's all closed. Everything is perfectly done. No diabetes, perfectly healthy patient, non-smoker, clean, perfect closure, perfect healing, but an infection.
What is your opinion on sausage technique and place an implant immediately and provisionals on that implants immediately and gingiva graft immediately and everything immediately.
Okay, so when you do a sausage, you can do it simultaneously with an implant. If your defect has a certain degree, and we have a degree, like we have 3 types of patients. The first 2 category, you can do a simultaneous, but we believe that you're going to have to alter a little bit, and you even have to do a little bone graft on top of the implant to curve it out.
Yeah.
Therefore, if you do the healing abutment and the sausage, you're never going to get 100% bone.
Yeah.
Because this is the weak point. Okay?
That's right.
It's the weak point. So we tried a long time ago, and that didn't work so well.
So what do you think about concept of immediate dental rehabilitation?
Oh, that's a very good concept, but it's a concept for single teeth. They extract, or not single. The immediate dental rehabilitation is not for a healed site. It's for it's a very active site you extract.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a different story. If you were talking about like a resorbed patient, when you do the implant, you do the bone graft, the healing abutment, and it's ridiculous. It's not predictable.
Are you hurrying in your surgeries to treat patient to the end faster?
No. I only look at the thing that what can make this patient, this healing, and the outcome, the long-term outcome, worse.
Yes.
Because I hate long-term problems. That's what I hate.
It's better to wait a couple months.
It's better to wait 3 more months and get a good 10-year result than rush 3 more months and lose the whole case in 3 years. Or have like resorption, and it's like.
So, Istvan, please name 3 of your favorite books about implant dentistry.
Oh, okay. Well, I would say Carl Misch. And why? Because that was my first book, and that is the first book. And that's a pioneer book. Okay. My favorite book is the Carranza Clinical Periodontology. Okay. Why? Because that was the book that when I was in the States and I was working as a dental assistant first, I was like vacuuming and things like this. And I collected some money. I think it was $83 or something, $90. And I bought the Carranza book. That was the green edition, maybe 6th edition, or I don't remember which one. And I loved the book, and I learned a lot from that book. It's very basic. It's more for dental students. But because it's basic, it still gives a very good information for if a dentist and a general practitioner reads that book, they'll get a lot of things. Like, so that was my other favorite book. Then I like the more modern books too. I like Marx and Otto's Pink Book. I think it's a very good book. I don't want to miss, books. I think the Implant Site Development by Sonic, which we also have a chapter. I think it's also a good overall book. So they're, very good books.
Yeah.
Very good books. I think also, of course, the Linda book I like a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to get the new one. I like to have books,
Vertical and Horizontal Reach Augmentations, New Perspectives by Istvan Urban. Fantastic book, congratulations. And I love the lessons learned section of your book.
Thank you.
It's very, very honest.
Yeah.
How was the idea of that section, and what your students and doctors which your favorite part of this book?
Okay, so that's great. So I had a lecture in Boston, and the owner of Quintessence asked me to if I would be interested in doing the book and to have a meeting. So I went to Berlin, and I said, yes, I'm interested. And on the flight back, I made some notes, but I want to have in the book. And it was just like maybe 2 pages, like a few notes. And I we had a coffee, I had a tea, and we discussed. And I said, well, look, I would like to, have a comprehensive thing. And in each case, I would like to analyze the case. And he loved it. And, I think it's a very important part of the book because you're putting cases in a book. Okay? The good thing is if you put a case in the book that has a follow-up.
Right.
That means you did some time ago.
Yeah.
So if you have a 5-year follow-up,
Yeah.
a 10-year follow-up, that's
Yeah,
great.
right.
But maybe in that 5 to 10 years,
Exactly.
you changed some things and you learned from that case. And if you just put that case in, yeah, nice, not so nice, I like it, I don't like it.
You cannot finish the book. You could only stop the book, right?
Yeah, that's the other thing, yeah. But then I said, okay, let's do, what did I learn from this case? What can you learn from this case? Because I think the lessons learned gives the biggest information.
It's your idea. I never seen in any
Yeah,
book
I think it's
this section.
I think it's the first time.
You're full of ideas.
I think it's the first time, and I hope it's going to come to other books.
Yeah.
Because this improves a book a lot.
Yeah. You should name this idea lessons learned. And
The sausage.
Passion, yeah, sausage.
Sausage cat 2.
Yeah.
Let me see this.
How many hours you spent on your book?
Well, there was a best summer. I had mostly in the summer. So let me see this. Yeah. So if I there's no such a thing as a perfect case, but I see something that crest or bone maybe could be a little bit better.
Yeah.
But this one is perfect.
Fantastic crystal bone.
But let's select another one which I didn't like, the crest or bone. Okay, that's good. Yeah, it was here. This is good. This one.
Let's find not ideal case.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
It's very hard.
See, it's not ideal.
Not ideal, but
It's a good. Yeah, it's good.
Normal.
Then, this is because of this,
Yes,
and this.
right,
Don't make the same
right.
mistake, and that helps you a lot. So that's my favorite part of the
section.
book.
Yes, my favorite.
That's my favorite part of the book.
Professor, how do you think? What is the best way of learning for implantologists? Is it better to learn by book? Is it better to learn by visiting congresses, or is it better to learn by your own experience? How do you think?
I think it's a mixture of everything. Symposium are good for get a general idea and to get like an information. Okay, I like this technique and I like this person also because I trust what he says, and so I want to go more in depth.
Yeah.
Then you may take a course, and for example, in our courses, the book is the best handout for the course.
Yeah.
It's good to read the book, but if you took a course and read the book, you'd read it with a different mind.
Yeah.
So the books obviously help also. Your own experience is, I would say, maybe the most important. So you have to get experience. You have to get the knowledge and then put your experience into it.
You have very experienced doctors from all over the world to go through your hands-on course here in this institute. What is special secret? How could you invite them? Because because you are superstar, or because this hands-on course is very very good for a doctor? How do you think?
Well, they come. I usually don't invite. I mean, I invite obviously everybody to come, but they come. And the good thing is that I will get the feedback that they, even the very, very experienced ones, they say, we took a lot of information here that we can use, and we can use that on Monday.
Yeah.
So I do have the confidence that what not only with the hands-on, with the live surgery, the hands-on and the theoretical together, the experience we give and what we teach is good for everybody.
Yeah.
Also for the very, very experienced one.
Is there always place for learning, or?
I think so. I think there's always. I am also open-minded all the time.
Are you learning every day?
I'm learning, yeah. I'm learning from myself. I'm learning from others. I'm learning from the practice the most.
And how do you think visiting conferences, is it most newest information for doctors? Or
Okay, well, there's some, obviously, it should be the newest information. Sometimes you get, I would say, state of science, which is very good, but sometimes the state of science is based on things that you already heard.
Yeah.
And so, but other than that, the conference should be cutting edge.
Yeah. In Budapest, in the end of October of 2017, will be your conference, your first conference. It's fantastic. You decided to run your own conference. Congratulations, and so cool names: Craig Mish, Myron Nevins, Giovanni Zucchelli. It's not conference; it's fashion conference.
I know.
Yes,
it's like fireworks.
Yes, fireworks. You could come just to see and to make a photo with everybody. But what will be the scientific program? Will it be interesting for doctors to visit it?
I think it's going to be very interesting because it's a very broad spectrum. I mean, look at Craig Mish. He's as a person, like all of them a lot. Yeah. They're my friends, and also like him. And he's a pioneer. I think he did the first article on the bone block.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. Right. So, and I want to have, a conference which is not only, sausage.
Yeah.
Okay, sausage is very strong, and you'll see that.
Yeah.
But also like, okay, who's doing, other things, right? And for example, Dr. Mish said that he actually, I think he's implementing a lot of our, techniques too. He's a great surgeon. Dr. Nevins is also a pioneer. Pasquanelli is one of the best soft tissue surgeons of the world. So I think we have, Picos too, and the Rosa. So all of them you just mentioned, all of the speakers are great in something.
Yeah, right.
And then we have a very wide spectrum, and then you sit there and say, okay, I like this, I get some idea about this. So that's great. But you have to come fast because there's very good hands-ons.
Yeah.
And I had to open another hands-on because mine was full, and then people were asking, so I have another hands-on.
Your hands-on course everywhere always full. In Monaco, on Geistlich conference, in Moscow, and everywhere. Your hands-on always first full.
I'm very happy for that, and that's, I think, because I teach it simply, and in a way that you can go home and do it.
Yeah. Istvan, I have read your PhD thesis and
you know a lot about me.
Yes, and electronic version of your book, and I admire your clear way of thinking and perfect structure of material in this book. But one topic you missed completely. Guess what?
I'm sure I missed more than one.
It's time management. How many hours a week you spend lecturing, working, managing, and everything? I mean, science. And what's the secret is to harmonize it with your family? Do they grumble at you?
No, they don't. So, well, number one, time management, okay? When I was in high school, I went to a very good high school, and I had to study a lot every day. But I like kayaking. I still like kayaking, and I was competitively kayaking. The teachers don't like it. They didn't like it. So they even came to our house and told my parents, tell Istvan to quit because he's very good in studies. He has to focus on studies. Forget the sport. Yeah. And I wasn't that good at sports, but I loved it. So I said, no, I will manage my time. And then I made like a map, like a time map. Okay, so I'm finishing school, let's say 1:10. Then my training will start at 4 o'clock. Then I'm going to run home. Yeah. I study 45 minutes. I run to the tram.
Yeah.
I study 45, not 40 minutes, 45, because then if I run to the tram and run to this, then I have 5 minutes. Right. So I really learned how to manage my time. So my time management in those of the day is perfectly set. My family do not doesn't grumble, because my wife was doing a lot of traveling when before we had the kids. She was a model, she was traveling, and she knows that this traveling is not like I go for a vacation. So she completely understands that, and she says, well, I know it's work, and it's okay, and I'm so happy I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So but I also like patient care.
Yeah.
So I like to come to this practice and practice patients and do the courses. So basically, it's always a balance. I give a course, I take a day off, or sometimes 2 days off.
Right.
And then I go back to my practice. I have hard days.
Yeah.
Then I take another day off.
Yeah.
Then I do another course.
Right.
And in the evening, I try to go to the Danube to go paddling. When I travel, I like to go to bed in time. I don't like to drink alcohol a lot, because then I don't sleep well. So sleeping to me is very important.
Yeah.
And that's it.
How many days a week are you spending for hobby or maybe with family?
So yeah, I'm with the family every day when I'm at home. When I don't work in the weekend, that's mostly Sundays when I try not to work, then of course I'm with the family. I am going for sports if I'm in Budapest every day.
Yeah.
Every day I leave the office and I do some sports. And in the summer when it's light, I go to the Danube, 6 o'clock, and I go home. And my son also, the little one, the big one is already finished. She's abroad for university, but the little one is still paddling, also kayaking. So I also meet the family there.
Is it hard to manage your Urban Regeneration Institute? Many time for management or not?
I would say we have a great team. That's why it's not so hard. And also my wife is helping.
Yeah.
I have the best secretary on the planet. I have very good people here. So because of that, it's perfectly managed, I think.
Yeah. And how many hours you spend for science and for surgery? What time is your favorite when you spend in the surgery room or under your new book? And
okay, but by the way, I didn't finish the book. Yeah. So when I wrote the book, I realized it's a great thing to write a book.
Yeah.
Because I took a summer off.
You were satisfied.
I had the best days. I wake up, I have breakfast, tea. I was watching, like, the Tour de France was going on the laptop.
Yeah.
So, it's very slow anyway. So then I was writing. I get up, I drink another tea. I watch the Tour de France a little bit. I write more.
How many months?
So I did the rough work in this summer. Yeah. And I had a very good editor.
Yeah.
She just retired in the United States. She works for a company, Avenues. And so every day she was prepared that Istvan is going to write this book. She didn't think I was so serious, because I sent her the first chapter.
Yeah, and when you're doing heart surgery, are you trying to treat only one patient a day with very hard surgery, or maybe you can take 5 a day?
No, I like if it's a heart surgery, I like one.
Yeah,
and I like to relax before. There's a Japanese restaurant here. Yeah. I walk over there, I relax.
Sushi, sashimi, you prefer?
Yeah. And then I come back, patient is set up already. I do the surgery. And of course, you ask me how much I like with science and the surgery. I like surgery. If I don't do surgery, I would say I really miss it. And when I did the book, the first month I did see patients once a week. And for next month, no patients. So after 2.5 months, basically, I come back to my office. You know what? I was out of shape.
Why?
It's like when you don't ski for a year and you go first day of skiing.
Yeah.
So, it's okay, but it's not. You were much better the last day, the year before. So you have to keep doing surgery. It's not like you go and teach and do this and show this and that, because when you're going to have to see a patient, you're going to have to do it.
Yeah. I know your courses are booked for many months ahead. How many courses a month you're going on?
Yeah, that's a great question. They're booked now basically until 2019.
Yeah.
And we did not plan that many, but now we have 26 a year.
Yeah, 26
at least
courses
26
a
a
year
year in Budapest.
Yeah.
And that's because of there's such a big demand. We wake up and every morning there's emails from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we have very high top clinicians also,
Yeah.
like super specialists
Right.
from the United States, from all over the world. So very happy for that. And for that, you have to take it very seriously.
Right.
I take my courses very seriously.
Right.
And I do a course, and then for the next course, I want to be the same prepared, same serious. It doesn't matter who's coming, what is their experience level, I have to give them the best.
Yeah, that's good. Are you going to make your courses more often?
I cannot really do more often because
I
I already have to reject 80% of the invitations I get. I get a lot of invitations. Sorry, I cannot go. I'm like, okay, and some of them I would love to go, yes. But there's a date, there's a group there, and it's fully booked. I cannot go.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool to be here and talk with you. And is there any advice for doctors from Superstar?
No, thank you very much for doing the interview and to come here. And my advice is always this: choose the area in dentistry that it really makes you fascinated. It doesn't have to be implants. It doesn't have to be bone grafting. It's great to do veneers. It's great to do crowns. It's great to do fillings.
Yeah.
But really do something what you really like, and try to find somebody who can inspire you.
Yeah, yeah.
And maybe you can not teach and inspire you. Inspiration is very important.
Yeah.
And that I'm proud of that. I think I inspired some doctors.
Yeah.
Who really became, going to this field.
Yeah, that's right. It's so good to be here and talk with you, Dr. Istvan. But all good things come to an end. I'm grateful to you for this interview. It was a great honor, and I thank you once more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching.